All right, good afternoon once again, guys. I'm your host, Brandon Troy, host and co-creator of Movies and Shakers Unlimited, and welcome to this episode. As you saw in the promo post, we do have a special guest, so give me a moment and I will introduce him on. 1 second. So I want to welcome Bill Oberst Jr. What's going on, Bill?
All
Long
right,
time no see.
Brandon, how you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm good.
Hey,
I
listen,
have.
I got to ask you first. When are we going to be in a movie together, man?
I don't know. Time will tell. We'll have to exchange schedules and see what we could do about that, man.
Well, things are kind of starting back up now, yeah. You hearing some action?
Absolutely, absolutely. We will chat. We will chat offline. But with that being said, Bill, as always, thanks for coming on the show. Uh, for those of you that are watching out there, the film that we are discussing is basically the good things that devils do. So without further ado, let's just hop right into it. Bill, can you tell me how you got involved with this project?
I got a call that said, "Would you like to be very bloody and wet and cold in Brevard, North Carolina, in the dead of winter for a horror movie?" And my answer to that question is always, "Yeah." Although inwardly I'm thinking, how wet and how bloody. And Brandon, it was really cold. Okay. I mean, we're up in the mountains. Brevard, North Carolina is like way up there. And it's really cold. There's more gore in this movie. And it's not just like spray blood, like they're like this is like the slick, dark blood. Uh it just hangs on you. So every time I look at the trailer, I get a chill, which is good because the people who've seen the movie who dig it, they like that 80s slasher style. They love the gore. So yeah, that's how I got involved. They called and asked me to be in it. I was glad to.
Awesome, awesome. Well, for those that know your work, they know you are not a stranger when it comes to horror films, as you were, just mentioning. However, with this film, I feel like it is a change of pace because oftentimes you are bringing about the violence or the damage or what have you. However, in this film, there is a 180 in terms of what your character brings. So can you speak to that and having that change of pace?
It was really nice. Actually, the producer of this film is named James Suttles. I'd never worked with the director, Jess Norrisgard, but I'd worked with James before. And James had cast me before in like this family values picture about how NASCAR got started. And so when he called me for this, he said, "I want to give you something that's not your usual cup of tea. It's in horror, but you get to suffer a lot." And I like that. I like that side of horror, playing the person who confronts the horror rather than just the antagonist. So I really enjoyed that. I have a great scream, Brandon. I mean, I got a kick-ass scream, and I never get to use it. So I got to scream a little in this movie, and that was nice. What else? I got my eye gouged out in this movie. I got stabbed and slit. And I was always going back to special effects, and they just had like a bucket of blood. And then, no matter how much blood you had on, when we got to set, Jess would say, "Blood him up." And I'd be like, "I've already covered it, blood him up." So, yeah, it was fun to play that side of the role.
All right, awesome. And just to go a little deeper in terms of what the story entails, I found it interesting in terms of the dynamics that it tackles with the parental dynamics. So, can you talk a bit about that and those various pictures that they provide with the various characters in that way, with parents and their offspring, their children?
Yeah, it's kind of this weird family movie. I play a career criminal who really wants to retire, and he's going to do one more job. You know, that's a great trope in crime and thriller movies. One more job, the one last job, it never goes good. And I got my daughter with me, and she is badass to the bone. I mean, she's the next generation of thieves. and she breaks in and she picks locks. And so we're going to do this last job together. And then she gets attacked by the evil in this house that we mistakenly entered. And I have to protect her. And so, yeah, it was a really strange dynamic to be playing a father who's trying to protect his daughter, but they're both criminals too. So it kind of made me think about and deal with the fact that even people who we would say, oh, yeah, they're a criminal, they have families, they love their children, they love their mothers, I hope. you know, so it's good to remember that we're all human. We make bad choices, but we all have the same needs in life. And I'm sure that people who have their children involved in crime rings with them, they love their kids too, right?
I'll say in their own, I'm sure, and in their own way, kind of similar to what we observe in this film. To speak further on that as well, you were talking about that idea of antagonists and their perspective, and oftentimes I'm always fascinated in speaking to any actor about playing a quote unquote bad guy or a bad girl. That idea of you or that character believing that they are the hero of their story and not being judgmental of the choices that they make
Yes.
or how they perceive the world. So, can you talk to that in terms of the character that you play, and also in explaining that dynamic between your character and the daughter?
And Brandon, I don't know how you feel about an actor, but for me, the people that I play, even if they seem to be morally corrupt, they don't think of themselves that way. That's the hell of it, really, of life, is that the people who we think, how could you do this? They think they're doing the right thing because we're all prisoners of our worldview unless we choose to break out of that worldview and look at the rest of the world. But if we don't, it's what my daddy taught me, what my culture taught me, where I come from. This is the way the world is, and you have your blinders on. And so that's the kind of person that I play so often in horror movies, killers and stranglers and really malevolent people. But they see themselves as protecting something and they have to attack something to protect something. Their choices are not morally right, but they believe that they are. It doesn't excuse the behavior, but it's the beginning of understanding why people do these horrific things that they do. I think it all goes back to how we see the world. And a lot of the people, the men that I play, including Richard in Good Things Devils Do, the world is very small because they've never expanded out much beyond themselves. And so they've got on the blinders.
Yeah, and to talk about that relationship, it's kind of alluded to, and it leaves it up to the viewer to kind of assess what might have transpired or what might have happened. In doing this film and developing that character, and also in having discussions with your co-star who plays your daughter, and talking about that relationship. And in the film, it's alluded to how she came to be in your life and in your care, so to speak, or how that relationship began, because perhaps it wasn't the best to begin with.
Hmm.
Did you guys discuss what that story was, in any way, or what the details were, even though it wasn't explicitly stated in the film?
We did. And there was a line in the script which got taken out because I lobbied, I asked for it to be taken out. And it was an explicit put down of the mother. Um, and so we figured that probably Richard thinks that his daughter's mother was a horrible woman and she did him wrong, when in reality, it's probably the other way around. Guys who treat women badly, it's always her fault, right? It's never us. And I think that he's the same way. And so now he's got his daughter and he's conflicted because he ruined the relationship with her mother. He's bringing her up in a life of crime. and he hasn't been a good father to her. And now she may die because of this evil that he's faced. So he has to decide how much do I love her and what would I do to save her. And so he ends up fighting this horrific supernatural evil to save his child. And I know, people listening to that will say, oh, it sounds corny. The movie is fun. It's a throwback to the fun slasher horror movies of the 80s. So there's a message in there too, but it's every horror movie you've ever seen where people make really stupid choices, which we do in life too, right? I am not hearing you.
My apologies. Sorry about
I
that.
thought I
um,
did something wrong.
no, you absolutely didn't. Technical issues.
Now I hear you.
Jeez. Okay. All right. So I guess in that respect of what you were saying with the dynamic with the daughter and commenting about how that relationship came to be, what would you say in that same regard, or what is your hope? Because they still leave it kind of open ended in that film of what of what may continue. Did you also in that same regard picture what after this traumatic event of what happened, what it may be, or what may come of them, based on what they basically had to suffer through or deal with?
Well, for a guy who does horror for a living, I'm an optimist, and I always believe in second chances and redemption. So my idea is always that people get a second chance if they make the effort. Now, if you just slash people up and cut them up and you don't care, you don't get no second chance. You're done for. But yeah, he made the effort. He put in the work, and I'd like to think that after the movie, in the truth of their stories, that they got a second chance to make a decent life. I hope he took it.
Absolutely. Hopefully so. Well, with that being said, Bill, thank you so much for taking the time to speak on this film. As always, before I let you go, can you tell folks where they can find you?
If they want to find me, they can find me. They can find me on Facebook and Twitter. And hey, I'm an Amazon brand now. So I got stuff up on Amazon and been having fun developing all kinds of products, starting with T-shirts, and I'm gonna get into some Halloween gifts coming up. So I'm on Amazon too. If you just Google for my name, then you'll find all kinds of stuff. And I love to hear from people, and I'd like to know what they thought about the good things devils do. And people write me whether it's good or bad. I guess because I seem friendly, but sometimes people write me and go, "Hey, Bill, your latest movie really sucked. I hope you're doing well," and they mean it. And then sometimes they'll write me and say, "That movie was really great, but I didn't like you playing such a really mean person." So it's like all kinds of people, and I write them all back. So I love to hear from people, and I appreciate you having me and what you do to keep independent artists in the forelight. Man, it's really means something to us, Brandon. Thank you.
Absolutely, man. As always, welcome back anytime. Thank you so much for coming on the show, talking about the film. For those of you that are watching out there, thanks so much for watching. As always, you can find us here on Facebook, which you're watching, but you can also find us on Twitter at Move and Shake UNLTD, on Instagram at Movers Shakers Unlimited. You can find me, of course, at Brandon Troy ENT on Twitter and Brandon Troy underscore on ENT on Instagram. So with that being said, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Be safe out there and see you soon. Bye.
Bye.